Hi, friends, and welcome. We're Bob and Fran, and we're all about healthy aging.
And healthy eating.
It includes healthy eating for sure. Today, Fran will give you a bunch of tips and techniques that she uses in preparing delicious plant-based meals. And I know that for
Because
a
he
fact.
gets to eat them.
Oh, yeah, they are great. You may want to take some notes, and you will love the easy and delicious dessert recipe that Fran will give you at the very end, so stay tuned. And so let's get started right now.
So let's start with 4 ideas to make plant-based cooking a success. The first one is to make cooking a hobby, not a chore.
You know, I think that's been one of your secrets since we've been plant-based now for 15 years.
Right. And let me tell you what I do. Whenever I find a lot of recipes on the internet, and when I find one that looks good, I know this is kind of old-fashioned, but I just write it down on a piece of paper, and then I make it. If I like the recipe, I file it.
It's a
If
keeper.
I don't like it, it goes in the trash. And I have to say, over all these years, I've only thrown away maybe 2 or 3. Most of them are pretty delicious. So have fun with it. Don't look at it as a chore. The second thing is to prepare meals that look good and taste great. As you know, if you go to a restaurant, presentation is really important. So make your food look nice. You can put some parsley on the side, use pretty colors, mix up the colors, don't make it all, blah. There's so many wonderful vegetables out there to use, and you can make your food look really good. And, of course, lots of spices to make them taste great. The third thing I would suggest is to find loads of healthy recipes and meal plans online. Like I told you, that's what I've been doing for years, and I have a ton of wonderful recipes by doing that. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't have time to cook because I'm working. Well, here's what I suggest that you do. Instead of cooking every single day, maybe on the weekend when you have some extra time, prepare soups, casseroles, stews, curries, anything that you can make that will last for more than one meal, sometimes 2 or 3.
And I think they call it batch cooking now.
Well, that could be batch cooking. Sometimes people do batch cooking where they actually put the food in different containers for the week to take to work. But I don't do that because I'm not working. So I always have food in the fridge. One of my favorite things is leftovers because I don't look at them as something bad. I look at them as a wonderful way to have another meal.
So for us, plant-based cooking is about substituting healthy foods for harmful foods. It's really pretty easy to do, wouldn't you say, Fran?
I think so, especially these days.
So Fran, let's start with foods we won't be eating now that we're all plant-based or hope to be plant-based. And that would be stuff like meat and chicken and fish and seafood.
Yeah, we usually use the expression, if it had a mother, we don't eat it.
Or if it had a face, we don't eat it either.
So here's some wonderful substitutions for those harmful foods. Instead of eating meat in a meal, you could use portobello mushrooms, organic tofu, tempeh, seitan, soy crumbles or soy curls. Those are all wonderful meat substitutes that are plant-based.
So could you give a simple example? How about something like...
Well, let me give you an example of what I'm going to make tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know if you all know what shepherd's pie is, but it's normally a layer of meat, like ground beef, a layer of vegetables, and a layer of mashed potatoes. Well, for the meat layer, I just use some soy crumbles that I put some seasoning in, and then the vegetables, and then the potatoes, and I bake it, and it's delicious, and we don't miss the meat at all.
What about something simple like spaghetti? How can you dress up spaghetti or pasta in some way?
Yeah, you can put in any kind. Well, first of all, we love mushrooms, so portobello mushrooms are a wonderful substitute for meat in a spaghetti sauce. We do that quite often, or you could use soy crumbles or soy curls, something like that. But you don't need, and some people make it with lentils. So there's lots of ways to make spaghetti sauce without meat.
So I know that sugary foods, sugar itself, added
Right.
sugar, and artificial sweeteners that are loaded with chemicals, they're both really not healthful at all. So what do you exactly use to sweeten the dish?
Well, there's several substitutes that you can use that are healthy. You could use stevia, xylitol. I love to use maple syrup as a sweetener, or you could use date syrup or date sugar. And they all make delicious desserts without having the chemicals that you would have in artificial sweeteners, or what you really don't want is the refined sugar that we used to use.
Could you talk a little bit about whole grains?
I remember when we were growing up, we used to love Wonder Bread. It was white, and you could smush it into a little ball. And they used to say it builds healthy bodies,
It was
8 ways
killing
or
us.
something. There was no nutrients in it. There was no nutrition whatsoever.
Yeah.
So all the bread that we eat now is whole grain and organic whenever possible. So there's whole wheat, there's spelt, there's all different kinds of wonderful grains. And if you're really inventive, you can make your own bread. Unfortunately, I haven't had any success with that, so I buy like organic whole grain bread at the supermarket or at the bakery, and it's delicious.
So with a whole food plant-based diet, it's the dairy. We don't eat any dairy products,
Right.
and we advocate not eating any dairy products. So what do you use lately? I know we don't use dairy milk.
Right.
We don't use cow's milk. So what substitutes are out there for
Yeah.
folks?
I don't know if you've heard this, but there's been a lot of information in the news lately that there's a definite connection between dairy products and hormone-driven cancers, such as breast cancer, cervical cancer, and prostate cancer. So with that in mind, it's best to not consume any dairy products. So these days, there's so many different nut milks on the market. There's almond milk, soy milk, coconut milk, hemp milk, rice milk. As a matter of fact, somebody told me yesterday that she noticed in the supermarket that they hardly had any dairy milk anymore. Another thing that people are finding is that the nut milks are actually cheaper than the dairy milks. So that's a step in the right direction too.
Now, what about cheese? That's also, of course, a very popular
Right.
dairy product.
Yeah,
I know that you make your own cheese.
I do, and I'll tell you why. There's some really tasty commercial non-dairy cheeses on the market, and frankly, they're delicious. But they're very high in fat because the main ingredient is oil.
Yeah.
So if you go to our website, look up our recipes, there's wonderful cheese recipes that are dairy-free, fat-free. The only thing they have is great taste.
Yeah. So the website is bobandfran.com, and I'll have a little post to get to our website in the description below.
Good. Just to give you an example, the 2 cheeses that I make the most are mozzarella, well actually 3, mozzarella, cashew cheese, and I guess you would call it like a cheddar cheese.
Yeah.
And it's great on a baked potato, for example. So you don't need animal cheese. Okay.
Talk about baking. I know you haven't had much success with bread.
No.
But how do you keep foods together when doing some cooking or baking?
There's some wonderful substitutes for eggs.
Yeah.
One of our favorites is flaxseed meal. First of all, flaxseed meal is very high in omega-3s, and we put a tablespoon of it on our cereal every morning for omega-3s. But when it comes to baking, if you put, I think it's 1 teaspoon of flax seeds and 3 teaspoons of water in a little bowl, and mix it up and let it sit for about 5 minutes, that becomes your egg for helping to hold food together. Another quick tip is aquafaba, and you're probably wondering, what is that? Well, if you Take a can of chickpeas, which are also known as garbanzo beans, and you drain it. You always drain your beans and rinse them before using them, but if you drain it into a cup, that liquid is aquafaba, and you can keep it for 2 or 3 days in the fridge, and if you beat it with an egg beater, it becomes like whipped cream. I know it could add for baking, or you could even use it as a dessert topping. Okay, so there's good substitutes for eggs.
Great. So we want to confess something to y'all out there that we are both chocoholics, big time. So what do we do about that? I know we have some delicious chocolate
Yes, we do.
desserts and such.
I want you to understand that just because dark chocolate isn't milk chocolate, it may have dairy in it, so you have to read the label. There are wonderful vegan dark chocolates on the market, but you've got to read the label.
And for snacks, we don't eat any sugary snacks at all, but
Well, truthfully, we hardly ever snack because the
Right.
meals that we have are so substantial that they don't leave us hungry because
Right.
we eat a lot of grains, a lot of starches.
yeah, we especially don't advise people to have snacks of any kind after dinner if you can possibly do that. We think the longer period of time from after dinner to breakfast time,
That's
should
like
be-
a fasting period.
yeah, it should be as long as possible. If you're going to snack during the day, I know that we just have some raw veggies or some fruit and maybe some nuts. So
You want the recipe?
Well, we promised
You
the
told
folks
them
at the
again.
very beginning that you were going to have a delicious dessert recipe. So why don't you
Okay.
lay it out for
Yeah, I'll
them.
lay it out. As you know, we don't eat ice cream because that's dairy, but we do eat nice cream. We call it nice cream because it is good for you, and it's made from frozen bananas. You take really, really ripe bananas and cut them up and put them in the freezer till they're at least 3 hours or longer, and then you can put it in the food processor and process it to make nice cream. It gets very creamy, kind of like a Dairy Queen kind of substance.
Yeah.
Okay, but the special one I wanted to tell you about today is one of our favorites, which is butter pecan.
Yeah,
Well, how do you make butter pecan?
no butter.
No butter, but we put in some chopped pecans and some maple syrup into the nice cream once it's whipped up, and it tastes like butter pecan. It's
Yeah,
delicious.
it's amazing. It's really good. And you can experiment and do all kind of things with.
You know, you could take your favorite ice cream flavor and duplicate it with nice cream by using your imagination.
Yeah. So, we have lots of plant-based recipes that Fran has created at our website. Just want to remind you again, that's bobandfran.com. So please check them out. And also, go to our channel playlist because we have a ton of videos on plant-based lifestyle, plant-based cooking. So please take a look. And if you have any questions about cooking, Fran is happy to answer them. Just post them in the comments section below, and Fran will be sure to reply to you.
And I would also be really happy if you have a favorite recipe that you'd like to share with us, because we're always looking for new things
Send
to
it
make.
along. Yeah, just post
Because
it.
we love to eat.
Yeah, so I think that does it. We look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye for now.
Bye.